Canada is absolutely loaded with insane ski terrain, and ski resorts are just the tip of the iceberg. The second you step into the Canadian backcountry, things get even wilder. However, this isn't a backcountry video. Today, I will be listing the steepest, scariest, and most dangerous ski resort runs in Canada that you yourself can access easily, literally by just riding a chairlift. Most lists on YouTube would try and maximize viewership and hold you hostage, making you watch number 10 first all the way until you hit number 1. But I'm not like most YouTubers. I don't give a f***. I'm gonna give you what you came for right away, and that's for the most dangerous resort of all. So I'm gonna give you the resort, and I'm gonna give you the marked runs that are dangerous and a couple unmarked runs that are dangerous, because some of these Canadian ski runs are so dangerous that the patrol won't even mark them on a trail map because that's just way too much liability, but it's still cool of them that they keep these ski runs open. So without further ado, the most dangerous in Canada. Number 1, numero uno, no fucking around. Surprise, surprise, Kicking Horse, British Columbia.
Holy crap. Dude, this is effed.
Kicking Horse is without a doubt the burliest, craziest, wackest ski resort on earth. It still blows my mind that it's actually a ski resort, and you'll understand what I mean. If you ever step off that gondola and you look around and you see all the chutes everywhere, like it is a beginner's nightmare, Kicking Horse. There is just only expert ways down that mountain, and it's hilarious. But there's some specific zones that are extra spicy. So for marked runs, the first zone that is super spicy is Redemption Ridge. Redemption Ridge off the north side just has some extremely exposed terrain, chutes that go along cliff bands, and it's named really well because you're not getting any redemption if you fall there. You're just gonna die. Redemption Ridge is super gnarly. You don't want to ski it with fog, and I can remember my first time skiing it, sweating through my goggles because I had no idea, if I was actually going to get cliffed out and have to hike back up or what was going to happen, but I was just making sure I didn't catch an edge, and I stayed on the snow. So Redemption Ridge, super crazy. Another marked run area that is nuts on Kicking Horse is Terminator 1. The hike up Terminator 1 is just as crazy. If you get a little queasy, if you're afraid of heights, the Terminator 1 hike is next to terrifying, and you're gonna hate the hike up. If you make it up the hike up, then you have to decide whether you're gonna ski off the north or the south. Off the north side of Kicking Horse, you've got runs like Truth, Dare, and Consequence, all of them very exposed, especially the Traverse to Consequence, and very sketchy, very spicy lines. If you want something even wilder and even bigger adventure, ski off the south side. There's cliffs, there's pillows, there's trees. It's kind of a choose your own adventure, and it gets wild in there. It's actually the venue for the Freeride World Tour. And if you don't think it's spicy, if you don't trust me, just ask Stan Ray how spicy things can get when you're skiing that north side of T1. The final mark spot on Kicking Horse I have to mention is called the ozone. And although it isn't like the most aggressive or exposed area per se, it has some massive features. So if you're doing a backflip off the top of the pyramid, like a Freeride World Tour skier, then that might very well be the most dangerous run in the world. But the ozone has to be mentioned. There's just some super gnarly ways you can ski that entire zone. And the funniest part about Kicking Horse is, sure, these 3 zones are super aggressive, but there's also 40 other chutes that are extremely aggressive everywhere on the mountain, so it's extremely hard to actually pick a spot. Now, if you thought the marked runs were bad at Kicking Horse, oh, just you wait. There's this unmarked run that you've heard about from me plenty of times, and it's called the Dutch Wallet. We first heard about it from a guy on the gondola, and I was praying that it was some sort of wives' tale, but to my displeasure and to Rob's fortune, it was actually a run that existed. There's a rope down a cliff. That's a super old rope that's attached to a super old tree. The challenge of this run and the danger is actually just getting down. You put your skis down on the rope, and then you put your poles down, and then you down climb. If you fall while you're climbing down, you're probably fucked. If the rope snaps, you're screwed. If the tree breaks, you're screwed. All of it is just really ridiculous and really terrifying.
Don't need nothing but a good time. Why do my friends like this kind of shit?
The run itself is kind of more chill than the climb down. You want to be one of the first ones in there, and if you catch an edge and fall off the exposure to the left side, you're pretty hooped, but it keeps you in there, so you'd have to try pretty hard to mess yourself up on the ski down. But what makes it the wackest, most dangerous run in Canada is really just that just that rope climb down. It's ridiculous. All right, number 2, Whistler Blackcomb. The Whistler Blackcomb trail map might look slightly more approachable than Kicking Horses, but don't let the green circles fool you. The second you're in the high alpine, you are in some of the wildest terrain in the entire country. Some of this terrain is so wild at Whistler Blackcomb that it's not even on trail maps. There's so many unmarked runs at Whistler that aren't sanctioned by the resort because they're just way too sketchy and too much of a liability for the resort to actually mark. These runs are extremely hard to find. It's hard to find some of the most terrifying ski descents, and it's really a good thing that tons of tourists don't get trapped in them. But I have made guides. If you do want to learn more about the steepest runs at Whistler and Blackcomb, you can check out the video guides that I made 3 or 4 years ago. They're filmed terribly on a GoPro Hero 7 with 0 stabilization, and I'm riding on my race skis on ice. But if you want to see kind of where they are, what they look like, they're pretty sweet guys that you can check out, and I'll leave a link below. Let's start on the Whistler side. For marked runs on the Whistler side, I think the most dangerous run is called the Couloir. The Couloir used to actually be way more skiable than it is these days, and it used to be open a lot more. Thanks to our warming climate, climate change, the Couloir hasn't been as skiable as it used to be, 10, 20 years ago. At the top, you've got this massive cornice to navigate. It's super tight. Then you've got a choke with some rocks to get through before it opens up with a nice wide open area for you to just tumble down if you end up tomahawking. The Couloir is a really fun run, but it shocks me that it's actually on a trail map because the entrance can just be so sketchy. Like, it would not be rated a double black at most mountains. Like, it can be really bad when it's bad. But back in the day, it used to be like a super top to bottom skiable line, just how things have changed. But the Couloir, definitely the most kind of exposed and burly ski line on the Whistler side that's marked. In second place for marked runs on the Whistler side is West Cirque. This is one of the longest, steepest sustained fall lines on either side of the mountain, and the entrance ranges from very challenging to impossible depending on how the wind's blowing, how big the cornices get. It can be insane. There's rocks up top, cornices, and if you fall, you're going all the way to the bottom. So it is not the place to fall. You'll not be in good shape. Navigating the entrance can be super tricky some days, but just head up there and watch a 13-year-old freeride skier do a backflip in, and then stand there with your knees shaking until you find a way to slowly get down. But the West Cirque's an exciting one. The unmarked runs in Whistler Blackcomb are where things really start to get wild, and the first one worth mentioning is called the Coffin. Everyone knows the Coffin, and it's this tight, straight line chute with a cliff drop at the bottom and sometimes at the top, located underneath the peak chair. The Coffin's so damn steep that you can't see the drop in from the chairlift. You have to actually get in it and kind of start clenching your cheeks before you even see the line down, and the exit is still fairly blind. In the past couple years, I've had 2 extremely successful attempts on video. If you can't understand my sarcasm, then why not subscribe to this channel because you hate my jokes so much? Here's some footage of Ben, the founder of Delirium Skiing, actually skiing the Coffin like a man, unlike me. He's dropping off the top part and jumping off the second part, and that's how it should be skied. I go for the more acrobatic approach when I ski the Coffin. I like to tumble around a little bit. Now, I would have failed Whistler completely if I didn't mention one of the most legendary lines on either side of the mountain. This one's just a cliff, but it needs to be mentioned, Air Jordan. This is a 2-step cliff, and you can see it from the peak chair. It is so much fun to watch people on a pow day jump off this cliff. The first drop is a little smaller onto this dance floor, and the second drop is absolutely enormous. If you mess up on the dance floor, you will be boogieing right to the bottom, and if you stomp it, you will get the biggest cheer ever from the crowd. It's just a really fun spot, and it's kind of the stomping ground of the mountain. It's definitely out of my pay grade, but I love watching other more skilled riders absolutely stomp that cliff. It's a super cool line. The last unmarked line on Whistler that's worth mentioning is called Exhilaration. This one's spooky. It's a mix of exposure if you ski it like I do, turning to the right, steepness, and if you're a person with absolutely massive lead balls, you can just straight line down Exhilaration, get to absolutely unimaginable speeds, and then let your heavy balls slow you down as you near the bottom of the mountain. The Exhilaration straight line is no joke, and if you stand up top of that cornice, you jump off that cornice and ski down it, yeah, you're a serious skier. That is terrifying. I've only ever turned down the right part of it. It is something else. If you thought Whistler was butt clenching, just wait for Blackcomb. Blackcomb is bonkers. So on the Blackcomb side, for marked runs, you've got the legendary Spanky's Ladder. Spanky's Ladder is more of an area than a run, and that's kind of the beauty of it. It's this open area. There's not many marked cliffs. There's tons of straight lines. There's tons of mandatory errors. You know, it's kind of a choose your own adventure, and you got to figure it out as you go down. Spanky's is not the kind of place you can go without a local or without a guide or without actually consulting a trail map or being willing to kind of hike out if you get stuck on some cliffs. It's a spooky spot depending what bowl you try and do. I've actually made a guide for Spanky's where I show all the different routes in, the easiest ways in. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave it here or link below. It could be super helpful for you. It's a great spot to kind of improve and progress because you can slowly choose lines that are harder and harder and harder with more exposure until you kind of, you know, find those big mountain lines that you really want. So Spanky's is a cool spot for steep skiing, and you can, you know, get anyone from like a guy like me to the best skier in the world, you know, shaking up there. It's a cool spot. Just make sure to always spot your lines from below. You don't want to end up etched in history like this legendary snowboarder. The second marked run on Blackcomb that I need to mention is the Saudan Couloir. It's also called Couloir Extreme because it was originally named after a legendary steep skier, Sylvain Saudan, and then he sued Whistler for using his name or something like that. Hell yeah, brother. But I still call it Saudan Couloir or Saudan Couloir, whatever. You guys are all going to get mad that my pronunciation is wrong as per usual. But the Saudan Couloir is especially steep if you start at what's known as the false face, where the rope lines are up top. Super steep, super exposed. You got this huge, like, massive 100+ foot cliff to your left. You cannot fall to your left. You kind of got to bring it to your right, but there's still cliffs everywhere. And if you fall the top, you'll be a washing machine, and you'll hit a bunch of sharks on the way to the bottom. It's a serious line. It'll get the heart thumping. The coolest thing about it, though, is you can start at false face, or you can start a little bit lower and kind of progress up to the false face. So even my 60-year-old mom, for her first time ever skiing it, started a little lower on the ridge and was able to make her way down it. It's often icy. It's often kind of busy because it's, you know, got the most notoriety. It's really easy to see when you come off 7th, and everyone wants to ski it. So it tends to be a bit icier up top, but once you commit to it, you're not climbing out. So make sure you got the skill set to ski that thing if you go for it. Now, just like Whistler, Blackcomb starts getting serious when you get on the unmarked runs. So the first unmarked run I gotta mention is Hawaii 5-0. And 5-0, according to the Wives' Tale, stands for 50 degrees. This run is steep, and what makes it even sketchier is the ginormous cornice up at the top. Like the cornice up there is unfathomably big, and it's terrifying to find the entrance. Like that's the scariest part, is finding the entrance to this run, because if you pick the wrong entrance, you're going down a run that isn't a run that's straight to a cliff that will kill you. So you really need to nail the entrance if you try 5-0. The top can be very, very steep under that cornice, and then it gets a little less steep, but it tightens up. In the last 4 years, it's been a straight line out of there. On big snow years, you can turn out of there, but a lot of times now you can't even turn down the damn thing. You're just straight lining out. So make sure you spot 5-0 from the bottom if you ever go for it. Another kind of aesthetic and exposed line is called Lone Pine. You'll see it when you're going up the glacier chair. There's this little tree, lone pine tree, sitting there, and you ski above massive exposure, kind of on this cliff's edge all the way down. It's a simple line, but if you screw up, you will be super screwed, and it kind of leans to the right a bit. So you're kind of turning into the wall, and the snow, you know, if it went, could take you the wrong direction, or if you catch an edge, you'd be hooped. So Lone Pine is kind of exciting from an exposure perspective. The most insane unmarked line on the Blackcomb side is called Krakatoa. It's located on the peak that's just behind the Blackcomb Glacier. There's a line up there called Ladies First. There's Krakos, both easier skiing. And then there's Krakatoa, which I have no idea who's ever skied it. Maybe back in the day there's deeper snowpacks, but this thing's gnarly. It's like a huge cliff drop to another like 40-footer. It just is like the most big mountain thing you could ski. I'd love to see someone ski it. I've never seen it. I will never try it, and I think it takes the cake for one of the scariest lines at Whistler. It's up there with Air Jordan probably, if not more burly. The nice part is if you fail, no one's there to watch, right? Number 3, we're boogieing on to Banff Sunshine Village. Sunshine Village comes in at number 3 with Delirium Dive. Delirium Dive is known worldwide as one of the steepest runs. It's also kind of like Spanky's ladder. It's a kind of area. It's got a bunch of different crazy chutes and lines you can ski. Delirium Dive is super unique because it's the only ski run in Canada that requires avalanche gear, beacon, probe, shovel to get into. You need a partner, you need avalanche training, and it's got this prison gate. The gate will not open unless you have a working beacon. So you walk up to this prison gate, you walk in, lets you in if your beacon's turned on, and it connects, and then you walk in and you get to the top, and there's just straight down lines all off the edge, and you've got to, you know, pick your poison on the way down. Far left is a little easier. You can walk down the stairs. It's a little easier, or you can just jump right off the top and, you know, end your life quick. There's lots of fun cliff drops. Once you make it down, things mellow out. And then on the dive, there's some secret pillow lines at the bottom that you can also rip as well, making for just the craziest run in Canadian skiing. It's super, super fun. And if you're at Sunshine Village and you're an expert skier, you got Avi gear, it's absolutely worth trying. Delirium Dive gets all the fame, but there's actually a wilder ski zone at Sunshine Village. It's like the Wild West of ski zones. It's literally called the Wild West. It's a super crazy zone, and it's got tons of these couloirs and kind of tight chutes that are super unique to Sunshine. I skied one called Pato's, and it was like the coolest inbounds couloir that I've ever skied, hands down. The most dangerous line in there, I believe, is called Luxton's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's super tight. You have to straight line, and you have to do a Mando air at the bottom. Super aggressive terrain. And what makes Sunshine even crazier is that a lot of this terrain won't open till March because they have such a low snowpack. So you're always dealing with like these aggressive lines, but it could also be littered with sharks that are just waiting to attack you. So I think that makes Sunshine even more dangerous, is the fact that like you have a rocky snowpack, you've got like rocks everywhere, and you're skiing these like super tight and crazy lines. Wild West, super, super sick. You're not even gonna believe it, but Sunshine used to be even crazier like 20 years ago. When I was skiing there, I skied with this guy, Mike. He's a total legend. I got first chair with him at Lake Louise this year, and he showed me around when we were at Banff Sunshine. And on YouTube, he goes by Mikey Hall. And when we were there, he pointed out this line called the Rocket Pocket. One of the craziest resort lines I've ever seen. I'm not sure if it was ever resort sanctioned, but you're allowed to ski it back in the day. And there were a few other areas like the Milky Way, which are super exposed. But check out Mikey Hall's YouTube channel and some of the lines he's doing Sunshine Village back in the day. They're absolutely bonkers. Like, they're laughable how intense they are. In this run, Rocket Pocket, insane amounts of exposure. No Way Out, big exposure too. Like, he's kind of showing how you can really ski this aggressive Sunshine terrain properly. But Rocket Pocket might have been one of the most, you know, puckering lines I've ever seen, especially on or near a ski resort. Number 4, just up the road from Banff Sunshine, we've got Lake Louise. Lake Louise is one of the most gorgeous resorts in Canadian skiing. There's something super cool about it. You've got the front side, and then on the back side, you've just got a bunch of steep lines all over the back side. So there's lots of steep terrain on the back side. The ones that are the most steepest is like ER5, which is rarely open, and the Alphabet Gullies. I've only ever skied the Alphabet Gullies either with a low snowpack or absolutely zero visibility, which made it even more dangerous. But the cool thing about Lake Louise, you've got these dangerous, aggressive runs, and you can just keep lapping that summit chair, go up the summit chair, go down to the bottom, back up, you know, and keep doing those cycles, and you're going to be able to ski so many different kind of dangerous and aggressive lines. And the ice and the rocky snowpack makes those lines even more aggressive than other mountains. Lake Louise has got some pretty gnarly terrain. Number 5, Revelstoke. The only reason Revelstoke is behind Lake Louise, in my opinion, is Lake Louise just has more dangerous marked runs in one spot. Revelstoke, the dangerous runs kind of require you to do a little bit more adventuring. So Revelstoke, everyone knows it these days. It's got the highest vertical drop in North America. Sub-peak on Revelstoke is where the steepest and most apparent dangerous terrain is located. You hike up a boot pack from the top of the stoke chair, and you can choose any run down from the top. You pick your poison. Discipline is probably the most exposed, right from the middle through the cliffs and rocks. I tend to ski Powder Assault on the far right more often. I just find the snows better. But where the lines get really aggressive and unique at Revelstoke are kind of in these trees. There's all these hidden pockets of pillows and straight lines that you can find. If you want really gnarly pillow tree lines, you go just below the Greeley Bowl off Gracias Ridge, and there's tons of zones you can explore in there, and you can ski some insane stuff on the ski resort. Another area in Revelstoke that has some of the most gnarly and dangerous terrain is called the Hot Dog Hallways. It's located off Vertigo Ridge, and you ski into the North Bull. So there's these tight little chutes and cliffs that you can kind of navigate your way down. Make sure you spot them from below, because some of them don't have an exit. Some of them have mandatory air exits, and some of those mandatory airs are more just like death airs. So just really make sure that you know what hallway you're going down if you ever decide to ski those, because they are gnarly. Revy's a fun spot. Number 6, Panorama. Panorama is kind of an undercover heavy hitter, but it's loaded with steep skiing. It doesn't get as much snowfall as some of these other kind of West Coast resorts, so kind of like Sunshine and Lake Louise, it's slightly sketchy because you always have those sharks that are hiding for a lot of the season. There's 2 main steep skiing areas at Panorama. The first is a more treed pillow area called Extreme Dream Zone, and the Extreme Dream Zone is pretty badass. It's super steep. You ski down from the top, and as you make your way down, you got tons of trees, steep skiing, and at the bottom there's all these cliffs and pillow stacks you can kind of hit on the left side if conditions permit. It's a super steep and cool zone. The next really aggressive zone, and the most famous at Panorama, is known as the Taten Bowl. And at the top of the Taten Bowl, there's a line called the Monster. And the snowcat's called the Monster Snowcat, and it takes you up the ridge. Or if you're like me and you don't have money for a bunch of snowcat rides, you just hike up on your 2 feet and ski as many lines in the Taten Bowl as you possibly can. The Taten Bowl has got a bit of everything. It's got some steep skiing, it's got chutes, it's got cliff drops, it's got big pillow stacks, it's got trees, so you can kind of pick your poison throughout that whole bowl and ski some of the most aggressive terrain in the country. It's creative, natural terrain, very, very fun. Never really seems to be enough snow, but when there is, my God, that's a crazy spot. Coming in at number 7, we got Fernie. So Fernie is an awesome resort. It's another one like Whistler where it is also super approachable for everyone. The vast majority of the steep terrain at Fernie is either off kind of the ridges going into the bowls, but the real kind of in-your-face, steep and dangerous exposed runs are up on the Polar Peak Chair. Unfortunately, the Polar Peak Chair isn't open all that often, but when it is, it's an absolute blast. I ripped it with James and Rob in the springtime, and we just had perfect corn snow coming through all the chutes. It gets your knees shaken. There's some puckering lines in there. They're super fun exposure, and then you get to loop back and go around again. I recently was looking at the trail map, and I noticed that there is actually runs coming off the Curry Head Wall, which sometimes may be open. You can tell me in the comments if they ever open. And knowing what those Polar Peak runs are like, I can only imagine how crazy those Curry Head Wall lines could be. Such a wicked spot. Fernie's got loads and loads of terrain and loads of dangerous terrain if that suits your fancy. Number 8, Red Mountain. Red Mountain is known for its POW skiing and its lack of lift lines, but it really is getting more popular in the last couple years with the Icon Pass and kind of all the marketing they've been doing. But Red is a wicked resort. It's not necessarily known to have super dangerous terrain, but trust me, there's a lot of gnarly terrain at Red. It's just filled with all that natural features, lots of pillows. It's just so much fun there. I remember following that patroller around a few years back at Red, going down the chutes and just like free falling down these chutes and hitting different pockets of snow to just like, keep me from falling. it was super fun. When we were last there, we were skiing with Jeremy, and he pointed out the microwave kind of area right off the back of the resort with just huge cliff exposure, super steep, and he's telling us people ski it super gnarly. If you ever decide to ski it or look at it, just ask patrol to see if it's actually sanctioned and not permanently closed. The only video I could find of the microwave area were some kids boot packing up and looking over the edge. Doesn't look so bad up top, but then it's the cliffs below that make it absolutely insane. And if you're feeling really insane, you can ask Jeff Ashton, Rosslyn local, to tell you where he managed to ski this absolutely bonkers line on the mountain. At number 9, we've got a bit of a sleeper here, but Castle Mountain. Most Canadians have probably heard of Castle Mountain, but any other internationals probably haven't heard of Castle. It is an absolutely sick spot. The one spot that's super aggressive at Castle and I'd consider dangerous is the chutes area. And they're not particularly like death-defying exposure, this or that, but what makes them dangerous is they're steep and they're so long. Like, they're one of the longest sustained runs I've ever seen. So if you fall and the snow's hard, you are going to fall forever. And you would be lucky. You would be lucky if you didn't hit a rock or a cliff. Patrollers there were telling me they set up, strategic fences on rocks or cliffs that like people tend to fall towards to protect people from falling off them. There's also a story I heard that they let off an avalanche in like the 80s, and it was so big that it took 3 years for it to melt out of the valley. So it's just a gnarly avalanche path, and it's some pretty steep, awesome skiing. Gets nice wind blow, but yeah, if you fall, you're screwed. So my advice, if you ski the chutes at Castle, just don't fall down them, especially if there's not pow snow. Since Canada is fully loaded with so many gnarly ski resorts, I couldn't land on a proper number 10. So I've just decided to add in 3 more of my favorites super quick here. The first one, Whitewater. It's got some super gnarly terrain and really fun terrain. You got the trash chutes, but it really shines in the slack country off Weimer Peak, where the terrain gets super gnarly. Second spot I couldn't help but mention is Apex. People call it Mini Revelstoke or Scrapex because of the ice, but it's got some super steep fall line skiing and runs like the Tooth and Tusk and the Wild Side are very gnarly. And lastly, Big White, home to the best tree skiing in Canada, in my opinion. And the Cliff Chair has actually got some pretty gnar skiing if you finally land a clear day there. Well, that's it, folks. Let me know in the comments if you've skied any of those lines, and let me know in the comments if there's lines that I missed that are super steep, or areas or ski resorts that I missed that I should have mentioned. I'd love to hear it in the comments. I don't know everything. I'm just a dude who skis and talks about shit. So I am not recommending you ski any of these runs or lines because you can die. If you decide to attempt these marked or unmarked runs, please ensure you are an extremely experienced and competent skier because you can die. Canada is the Wild West of skiing, and just because it's avalanche controlled and resort sanctioned doesn't mean you cannot easily kill yourself on it. You can die. There's a huge difference between challenging yourself and stupidity. So know your skill level, don't be stupid, because stupidity equals you will die. Please, if you didn't listen to any of my disclaimer, just remember to be super safe if you're skiing any of these steep runs. They're dangerous and you really can die on all of them. You need to progress slowly if you're planning on skiing steep terrain. Start slow and never ski anything that's out of your ability level. Being stupid will get you hurt. So just be super careful if you decide to ski any of this stuff. So stay safe, stay spicy, and have fun, folks. I'll see you in the next one. Sayonara.